You know, these little Surface tablets are kind of convenient, but wouldn't it be nice if you could play modern games on them? You know, like, say, Cyberpunk, for instance. What if I told you you could? And with ray tracing. Stay tuned. Whoa, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to play this game without ray tracing now. So today, I'm obviously not going to show you how to install Cyberpunk on a Surface tablet. I wish I could, but we're just not there yet. But I am going to show you how you can play Cyberpunk as well as many other games on quite literally anything. I'm going to revisit GeForce Now. I did a video a while back where I go through the free membership, and if you'd like to see that video, I'm going to go ahead and tag it here so you can check it out. I'm not going to cover a lot of the features of the service itself today. Today, I'm just going to look at the distinction between the free service and the priority service. And I'm going to let you know if I think it's worth the $9.99 a month that you have to pay in order to get the premium service. One of the biggest downsides is publishers pulling their games from GeForce Now. The game publisher issue really isn't Nvidia's fault. Like I said in the last video, I still think it comes down to greed. I can't think of any other legitimate reason for why game publishers would want to pull games that you paid for from a service where you're renting a virtual machine. But, you know, it's just the way I feel. I'm sure they have their reasons. There was a Reddit post a while back that I read, and it had some Rockstar employees on there, and they were actually just as upset with the decision. And what their recommendation was to contact Rockstar directly and express your dissatisfaction. So that's what I'm recommending you guys do. I'm recommending you contact these game publishers and tell them that you want to be able to play the games that you purchased on this service. And hopefully, if enough people contact them, they'll take it seriously. But we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. Now, the point of this video here is just to look at the differences between the free membership and the priority membership. Now, the priority membership definitely comes with some benefits, and some of these benefits are actually pretty big. For $9.99 a month, you get priority access to the game servers, you get extended session links. Remember, the free service only gave you an hour of gameplay before it booted you out and you had to wait in line again. And the priority membership comes with RTX on. And after playing with this, I've noticed that all three of those benefits are actually really useful. I didn't wait in line a single time for a single game, and I played many different games on this service testing it out. And every single one immediately loaded the game as soon as I tried to launch it. And when it came to the extended session links, it's supposed to be 6 hours on the priority membership. And you know, I'm sorry, but I couldn't test that because I couldn't sit in front of the computer for 6 hours. I just don't have time for that. However, I did play for several hours and I never got cut off. Except for if you walk away for too long, the service actually will boot you out. But I'll talk about that more in a little bit. And the last feature that we're going to look at today is the one that I was honestly the least excited about, and that's RTX. I thought the extended session links and the priority access were going to be way better reasons to pay the $9.99 a month on this service. But once I started playing with RTX, I found out real quick that it actually turns out that it's my favorite part of the service. Now, this is coming from someone who hasn't actually experienced ray tracing before. I'm just like you guys. I can't get a video card either. I'm stuck using services like this in order to experience this stuff because my gaming system legitimately has a 750 Ti. Just like our e-waste gaming system that we're building, that's exactly the same graphics card that I have in my main gaming system because I can't get a video card either. So these services right here are a great way to be able to supplement your gaming while we're waiting for video cards to come back in stock. And while I don't want this video to actually become a commercial for ray tracing, it's probably going to become a commercial for ray tracing. I didn't realize how subtle ray tracing actually was. I thought it made a much bigger difference, but honestly, the difference is really subtle, but the difference is so profound in the way that it makes games look. And it just blew my mind. I cannot believe that we are to the point now to where the realism can be that great. So I'm probably going to spend quite a bit of time looking at the differences with ray tracing on or off, so you can use that as a metric on whether or not you guys want to try this service out. So rather than me just sitting here talking about it, let me show you and I'll tell you what I thought about it. So the free and priority account, the native app looks exactly the same. The difference is when you select a game and click on it, it immediately launches and you don't have to wait in a queue like you did in the free version. Let me show you. Okay, not sure why it's analyzing my network again, but at least if you notice, there is no queue. It's immediately jumping into the game. And it takes a little bit for the virtual machine to get started, and then the game fires up. However, things did not go completely without error. I did have a few situations to where I would launch a game and the screen would stay at that hash looking pattern that GeForce Now has as a background, and it would just stay there. If I clicked my mouse, it would just make the default error sound in Windows and wouldn't let me go any further. And in those situations, I actually had to go and crash the native app and start it again, and typically the second time it would go into the game. I'm sure this is just a bug. Hopefully it's something that they get fixed soon, if they haven't already fixed it. Another problem I experienced was that after checking my network, it told me that I didn't have enough bandwidth to be able to actually use the service. This only happened once, and honestly, I think it was a fluke because I closed it and tried again, and it worked right away. So I don't think this is a big issue. I think this was just a random issue that I had. And considering all the time I spent playing games on this for the last couple of weeks, to only have this happen once, I think that's a pretty good track record so far. The next thing I want to talk about is the fact that you legitimately do, I assume, have 6 hours of playtime. However, like I said before, I didn't have 6 hours to test it. I really legitimately tried, but at the most I got about 2 or 3 hours out of it before I had to move on and do something else, and I couldn't sit by the game for 6 hours to see if it actually gave me that amount of time. However, a free account only gives you an hour, and I ran into that brick wall several times, and then it would boot you and you'd have to wait in line again before you could actually get back on into the game for another hour. With this one, I never got thrown out because of not having enough time. However, I did get thrown out because a lot of times I was playing games on this thing while doing other things. So I'd always have to walk away to do something else. And then when I come back, the game was automatically shut down because after 10 minutes, it automatically times out and it throws you off the service. Now, this actually is kind of annoying just because of the fact that the game I was primarily playing during the testing of this was Control. And while the game does autosave, it doesn't put you back in the same spot every time you go back. So every time I'd get thrown out, I would have to actually maneuver my way back to where I was, and that was kind of annoying. However, I can kind of see why they would time you out over 10 minutes because this server time is valuable, and if you're not sitting there actively playing the game and you're just running it without doing anything with it, I could see why they'd throw you off the service. But the nice thing is you can go back into the game without any wait time. But eventually, if you let it sit for 10 minutes, you'll get this countdown clock, and eventually you'll see this screen right here. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is the RTX on. I had very little experience with ray tracing prior to doing this video, so honestly, I'm kind of blown away at how good this makes games look. I mean, from particle effects to lighting effects to shadows, it really definitely brings the realism out in games. And like I said before, they're really subtle changes, but those subtle changes make a really big difference in your image quality. Let's take a look at a few examples so I can show you what I mean. Okay, if you notice the windows in the background, this room is actually a glass room and it's located in just a complete blackness. So all the windows actually look flat black if you're looking at them, even though they are actually clear. If you notice near the steps, you can actually see out the windows, but you can't see anywhere else. However, with ray tracing turned on, it completely changes the dynamic of the scene. So as we walk up here, you'll see the light actually emanating out of the room, and then once you enter the room, you can see your own reflection as well as the reflection of the other things within the room, as well as you can even see your shadow moving as you're moving around. Now the difference here is dramatic. It's a completely different scene with ray tracing turned on. On here, if you look at the back wall, you can see her shadow as she walks by the wall, and you can see the lighting effects. Now this is obviously with ray tracing turned off, and this is what you would expect from games. I mean, games have looked like this for years now. However, once we turn ray tracing on, it looks like this. you can see the stairs there and the reflection of the stairs on the wooden wall in the background, and you can see a lot more definition within the reflection as well as the shadow of her walking by. It's a completely different scene, and it looks a lot different with ray tracing. This definitely makes a huge visual improvement. And like I said before, the differences are subtle, but make a huge difference. All right, here we're gonna look at Cyberpunk. And if you look here, you can see this is the typical reflections that you would see without ray tracing. And this game looks great even with ray tracing turned off. However, you don't see the definition within the reflections, especially in the puddles on the street, as you would with ray tracing turned on. But you do see some reflections, but you know, they're just not as realistic. Now, with ray tracing, as we walk down the street here, you'll notice that the reflections in the street actually show exactly what they're reflecting. So you can actually see the advertisements that are actually displayed on the billboards as you walk by. And you can see just the environmental effects are just so much better. And as I turn around here, I'll actually show an example of where you can see this advertisement change. And then you look up and it's exactly the same as it is on the billboard in the reflection on the puddle. This makes a huge difference in gameplay. The next game I'm looking at is Tomb Raider, and it's hard to make this game look better. This game already looks great. However, ray tracing only affects the shadows in this game, and if you notice the shadows right now, you can see they're really hard lines. This is the typical shadow effect that you would see in a game, and the shadows, it's just you have a dark area and a light area, and that's how shadows are represented. However, with ray tracing turned on, it actually changes the way the shadows are actually processed. So in here you can see the shadows have more of a gradient, so it's not a hard line like it was before. And as Lara Croft walks here, once she gets up to the top and you'll see the shadows up here, you'll notice that some are darker and some are lighter, and it's a much more realistic shadow effect. It's something that really opens up the realism of this game and makes it look even better than it did before. And it really makes a huge difference, even though it's only affecting the shadows in this specific game. I'm gonna have to play through this game again just so I can see these effects. So as you can see, the Priority membership definitely has a lot of features to offer. It doesn't seem like much, but some of these things actually do really change your experience in the service. I would say that the priority access and the extended session links are big pluses when it comes to whether or not this thing is worth $10 a month. I think they definitely will help you to be able to enjoy this service a lot more than the free membership. And the ray tracing is really cool. And I think that's gonna be my main selling point to keep this service around after doing this video. And really, it's $10 a month. I spend more than that on coffee. I think I can afford to spend that on a little bit of RTX goodness, at least until I get an RTX card. When RTX cards actually exist. You know, I'm still not convinced that they're real things. We'll have to wait and see. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you think this service is worth $10 a month? And do you guys have this service currently? And if you do, have you experienced some of the same issues that I experienced? Let me know in the comments. I really want to hear your guys' opinion. If this video was helpful to you, then please like this video. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And hit that bell icon so you can be notified of future videos. I post a new video every week. And hey, before you go, check out a couple of these videos. Have a great day.